Welcome to Eclectic American Roots, our weekly series on roots music of all kinds. I'm Christopher Burkhardt, and I want to thank you in advance for your generous donations today as we continue to help struggling musicians during this damn panic. Bluegrass music is a genre of American roots music that developed in the 1940s in the Appalachian region of the USA. It originated when banjo phenom Earl Scruggs joined Grand Ole Opry star Bill Monroe's band in 1945 when he was just 21. Bill Monroe and his Bluegrass Boys were already popular, but Scruggs' rapid-fire banjo playing elevated the group's sound to a whole new level. Monroe called it a high, lonesome sound, and he later became known as the father of bluegrass. By the time Scruggs and guitarist Lester Flatt had left the Bluegrass Boys in 1948, the quintet's performance had inspired so many musicians to develop their own distinctive takes on the sound. The music wasn't called bluegrass back then. It was just old-time mountain music, and often referred to as hillbilly or folk music. When bluegrass festivals became popular in the 60s, everybody got together and wanted to know what to call these shows. Since Bill was from the bluegrass state of Kentucky and he had the Bluegrass Boys band, the music would henceforth be called bluegrass. Bluegrass has its roots in traditional English, Scottish, and Irish ballads and dance tunes, and even in traditional African American blues and jazz. The sounds of jigs and reels played on the fiddle were important to the developing style. It was black musicians who brought the iconic banjo to Appalachia in the first place, and a whole new sound was born. Unlike its cousin, country music, bluegrass is traditionally played on acoustic stringed instruments. There are two major subgenres of bluegrass: traditional bluegrass, with musicians playing folk songs, traditional chord progressions, and using acoustic instruments, and progressive bluegrass groups that may use electric instruments and import songs from other genres. It's neo-traditional bluegrass, or newgrass, typically with more than one lead singer. With most string bands, the fiddle, five-string banjo, guitar, mandolin, and upright bass are joined by the dobro, and occasionally the harmonica. From its earliest days, bluegrass has been performed by professionals and amateurs alike. Amateur bluegrass musicians and parking lot pickin' parties are an important part of today's bluegrass style. Bluegrass and newgrass are accessible to a wide range of participants, and it's a true grassroots movement that continues to appeal to folks of all ages, lifestyles, and politics. Bluegrass runs the gamut from the sacred to the profane, and is a lot more fun than you can imagine, as you'll see in this next number from bluegrass legend Dr. Ralph Stanley and the great Jim Lauderdale.
Travel on to another town. I'd like to see the sights some more and have a peek around. It must be pretty obvious it suits her to a T.
She's looking at me.
She's looking at me. No, she's looking at me. She's sweet on yours truly, judging from her smile. If your eyes had met them, you'd agree. If you could just accept it, the truth will set you free.
She's looking at me.
She's looking at me. No, she's looking at me. She's looking at me.
She's looking at me.
She's looking at me. No, she's looking at me.
She's looking at me.
She's looking at me. She's looking at me. She's looking at me. She's looking at me. She's looking at me. Wait a minute, fellas. Hold it. She's looking at me.
No, wait a minute now, Jim. I know that I saw her looking at me.
Let's wait just a minute, fellas. Let's get it right now. You know what? I'm an old rat at the barn, and I think
she's looking at me.
all mine. Now,
Looking at me, I tell you that. Me. Looking at me.
Uh-huh. See? Uh-huh. You see?
There's a time for love and laughter. The days will pass like summer storms. The winter winds will follow after. There is love and love is warm.
Our host today is a true American music legend who's been honored to entertain audiences all over the world with the group that he co-founded, the Dillards. Some of you will remember him from the Andy Griffith Show as a member of the Darlings, the mountain family who came down from the hills with their paw and, of course, their sister Charlene. The Darlings were famous for remaining silent and for singing their original bluegrass songs on the show like Dooley and There Is a Time. The Andy Griffith Show was such a huge success that it's still on the air even today.
Now Dooley was a good old man, he lived below the mill. Dooley had 2 daughters and a party gal, and still one gal watched the boiler, the other watched the spout, and Mama corked the bottles when old Dooley fetched them out. Dooley slipping up the holler, Dooley trying to make a dollar. Dooley, give me a swaller and I'll pay you back someday.
Now the Dillards weren't just the Darlings though, and the Dillards are known for constantly reinventing what music can be. Their classic albums run the gamut from pure traditional bluegrass to a more progressive sound that utilized drums and orchestra and helped create the genre known as country rock, along with artists like Graham Parsons, The Byrds, Poco, and more. The Dillards' newest album, Old Road New Again, is the first brand new Dillards music in 30 years, and it's considered the bookend to their famous Wheat Straw Sweet album. Let's bring Rodney in here and allow him to tell us more about bluegrass and newgrass. Rodney Dillard.
Well, thank you, Christopher. Robin of the 100-Year Woods. Newgrass music came from the traditional side of bluegrass, but also bluegrass music came from the traditional side of mountain music. So when people say that bluegrass is traditional, it actually took another form of mountain music and put it into high gear with a 5-string banjo played by Earl Scruggs, which set up that traditional, what they call traditional. That was in the 40s and the 50s. That was your traditional music that the young people thought was traditional. But see, that's the whole way of the folk music, how the history of that works. You go from a singer playing a swionette to a 5-string banjo player playing Eleanor Rigby. But what I'm trying to say in a few words, it's the musical creative process. Some people find a place in that music thing that they just want it to maintain and be the same because they feel secure with that, and that's familiar. It's like a comfort food for the ears. So what happens to people who get involved and who are really musically oriented and not doing it just for fun, but want to create something new, then you have that battle of newgrass against what we would call old bluegrass, which was also a derivative of mountain music. If that makes any sense, if that covers the area. But, and it will continue on. It's happening right now with the young people who discover the music and then do changes to it that are quite... Their approach to it is very unusual and surprising. There's a group, a couple who play old-timey music with Fralin banjo and old-time fiddle, and doggone it, if they didn't turn it around and give it that gangsta feel like rap, but it's just 2 instruments. It's how the people think. It's social engineering. It's all that input into the frame of reference, which changes things. If we didn't do that, we'd still be hitting each other in the head with rock. Wait, we are still doing that. This next person I want to share this time with is someone I've known since he was just a little tyke. I think he was maybe he was over here. But his name is John McEwen, and he's been a friend of mine for I don't know how many years. We both just sort of grew old and gray together, and we've had a lot of opportunities to pick together and play together and do things together. And he is, I would say, responsible for the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band being the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. He was a creative force in that group. So would you welcome John McEwen? I would like to introduce somebody who's been a friend of mine for years, and I really respect his ability to get ahead of things musically. And he's always on the tip of the spear of trying to think of things that people would be interested in and bring them into the fold of what he knows musically. And he's done that over the years. I hold him personally responsible for the Circle Be Unbroken, and I hold him personally responsible for a lot of the things that I've attempted to do because I've always admired his direction. I would like to introduce this guy. Wonderful, wonderful player, wonderful musician. It's John McEwen.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Rodney. You, who I wouldn't even be talking to you if you hadn't been so nice to me when I was a 17-year-old teenager, hounding your dressing room night after night, to the point where my mother said, "Why don't you change your last name to Dillard?" And that didn't work out, so I didn't want to. I wanted a name that's hard to spell, I guess. But I used to watch you guys in those LA clubs, 3 or 4 nights a week, because you were at all of them. You started the Ice House to the Golden Bear to the Mecca to the Troubadour to the Ice House, doing a week at each one, and sometimes 2 weeks. And that's when I got into music, really got into it.
And you know who you brought into music? Steve Martin. I watched an interview with him, and he talked about how you got him interested and got him going on when he got interested in the banjo, how you helped him along the way and gave him guidance. He speaks very highly of you. I hope you guys are friends.
Steve who?
So you've influenced a lot of people, John, and gosh, when you have a double platinum or quattro platinum album, what you did, that's no small potatoes, is it? That gave you the ability to take your talents, yours alone, and go to places that no man has been before.
It did something very important for me. It got me a permanent backstage pass at the Grand Ole Opry.
I don't even have that.
I can walk in anytime, and I can walk into Roy Acuff's dressing room. You're talking about, the Circle Be Unbroken, of which I attribute the creation of that album to the Dillards. It wouldn't have happened without you inspiring me to be a banjo player that could get Earl Scruggs to come see me. Much to my surprise, he came to see me in Vanderbilt University when the Dirt Band did our first show in Nashville. Gary Scruggs likes to tell the story because he was driving. He said, I told Daddy, I said, the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band's playing in town. He said, well, let's go see that. And Gary brought Earl and the whole family. And that was really a shock to me.
Well, I've got another shock for you. When Earl and I were traveling together on the road in that old bus, and we'd have that 4 o'clock in the morning going up Black Mountain, going somewhere, he admired what you had done with the music and how you'd taken the banjo and gone a direction that no one really had gone. And he was a fan of yours.
I didn't really know that. I thought I was just being tolerated.
No, not at all. And that's the way you are. You have that humility, which is, I know it isn't something you try to develop over the years. Humility.
No.
Naturally had.
It's fear. I have a natural fear that somebody's going to catch me.
Oh, no.
But I'm not good enough to play in this club. Oh, well, I'm here. How about this song? And, it's step by step.
Well, you added to the banjo. You added things to the banjo that no one else had done. You brought in the other aspect of entertainment. And you took the banjo and you made it you part of your personality. Hence, when you came up here, when I was with Jim Stafford in his theater, and you came out there and you were doing your thing and you did the whole thing with the magic and you lit you lit the head of your banjo on fire with the phosphorus thing and all of that. I thought, man, this guy knows what he's doing.
That's when you finally started liking me, I think. Yeah.
No. I just, gosh, I could say all kinds of things, but I don't want to get syrupy,
Well, Rodney, your contribution to music has been tremendous because what it did for me was influence me enough to go on and make the Circle album with confidence. But a lot of the playing I did was with an attitude or hearing the Dillards in my head, because folks, let me tell you, the Dillards were a perfect combination of the Smothers Brothers and Flatt and Scruggs.
Wow.
they made you crack up, and they played better than the Smothers Brothers, like stellar better, and they are as good as Flatt and Scruggs, and they were incredibly funny. This guy on the other side of the screen would lay people away for years and years. And when you did the Hollywood Time Machine album.
Yes, which I stole the title from you.
Yes, thank you. I wasn't going to bother to say that, but
well, I thought I would. I felt guilty about that all my life, but not much.
Well, I'm going to sue you for malpractice.
Well, we wrote this song about it. We want to do it for you. And what I want to do right now is introduce my good friend from a group you might recognize, the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, John McEwen.
Thank you. Before we proceed, I need to tell you people something, that I wouldn't even be playing the banjo if it hadn't been for this man and the Dillards when I was 17 years old. They showed me the way out of Orange County, California.
And there's a way out, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. I mean, I wasn't weird.
Okay.
I was just a teenager with a banjo. I mean, I had a dog, Rodney. I had an East German Shepherd, actually. It kept people in my yard.
Put your beside him and a barrel for a stone. Dooley, sitting at the holler, Dooley, trying to make $1, Dooley, give me a swaller and a payback someday. Sitting at the holler, Dooley, trying to make $1, Dooley, give me a swaller and a payback someday, and a payback someday.
But when you did that album and Wheat Straw Sweet and those others, the Dirt Band had started, and we got the job on Paint Your Wagon, and in 1968.
Oh, yeah.
Which the Dillards should have had. They should have been the band in Paint Your Wagon. But
you guys had the hit record, man.
No, we had a better manager.
You're right. You had your brother, right? You had Bill, right?
Bill was reading Variety one day in the office. He goes, "This is it. Paramount Pictures is auditioning for young musicians to play the part of minors at, blah, 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 blah." Yeah. He made the phone call that afternoon, set up the audition for the next day, and we got the part. We auditioned for Joshua Logan and Alan Lerner, and we did 5 songs. And this is going to be a big break for you boys. Yeah, we're going to use you. You're going to be in it. Yeah, sign them up. And that we took off to Oregon for 4.5 months to shoot our 3.5 minutes of the movie. And but
and when I saw the movie, John, I say, I know those guys. I know him.
All the time of doing that, I often thought of the Dillards. Like, too bad they didn't get this, But on the other hand, I was glad we got it. It was a good thing for us. Then we came back and did the Uncle Charlie and His Dog Teddy album, which had Randy Lynn Ragg on it. Great album. Which is why Earl wanted to come see us. I wanted to meet the boy who played Randy Lynn Ragg the way I intended to.
This is called the Randy Lynn Ragg.
And I said, well, that's awful nice of you to say that. I'm the boy. And that was the beginning of the Circle Be Unbroken album. And that went on to be in the Library of Congress and the Grammy Hall of Fame. But moving on, Rodney Dillard, who is someone that, well, I always look to you for what you're doing, because it's always interesting. And this new album that you've been telling me about for 2 years is lives up to the mark. Earthman.
That means a lot, John, to me. It really does.
The mark wasn't very high. It was. It was.
That's my friend right there. There's a true friend right there.
No, it's a perfect combination of old-timey and drums occasionally and electric bass and things that I hope bring you recognition and your just due, as they might say. And anyway, I think Earthman is a great album.
Thank you, man. I know that there's one album you've done and that I play all the time. I keep it in my car, and I didn't realize when I got together with Bill Vorndick, who's gotten several Grammys for different things, that one of my favorite albums is Strain Wizards.
Oh, wow.
And I know it's an older album, but I just love that album. And I didn't realize that Bill Vorndick, who produced my album, was a part of your project.
I needed an engineer in Nashville because I had to move fast. I only had enough money for 2 days of recording on Strain Wizards.
I know that one.
We did 12 cuts in 2 days. Eight of them were first take.
That, folks who don't understand the recording business, is amazing. Now it's all just manufactured, put together like you put air conditioning parts together, and it comes out sounding like air conditioning. and you did that, and then you did a project that was really cool for Warner Brothers. Remember of course you remember the Warner Brothers TV show,
The Wild West.
Yes.
I had the job of doing 2 hours of the 10-hour miniseries, and the producer of those 2 hours said, if you go meet with John Copeland, I think you can get the whole 10-part series. And I drove down to L.A. in a rented motorhome. I left the kids at the Howard Johnson's, which was only a couple miles from the office. And if I come back in a few hours and I say, we're going to Universal, I got the job. If I come back and say, we're going to the beach, I didn't get the job. But they were good with either one, so that was nice. But we went to Universal.
Well, that was an incredible thing. And you came out here to where I live, the studio here in town, and which I took over years later. But you had Beverly and I. You were gracious enough to bring us into that project. Why are you doing that? Did we do bad?
You may not remember.
What?
You may not remember, but when it came out, you were the only ones that didn't have credit.
Oh, that's right.
I had the album cover. So-and-so, and there's from Arkansas and Louisiana. And I recorded 72 people on 6 different formats in 8 different cities. And I just forgot, Rodney, you were such a part of my life. I just figured you were there. And I proofread those credits 10 times and never noticed you were missing.
It doesn't matter because it's preserved for posterity. It's okay.
And it got an Emmy nomination.
Yeah. And Beverly played such a great band. She's such a time monster my wife, such a time monster on the old frailing banjo. That one cut we did on, if I may be selfish, Always Gonna Be You, that was one take with Beverly on her banjo. One take. Bill said, that's it.
Cluck Old Hen?
Cluck Old Hen and Always Gonna Be You, the track to that, was one take.
Well, that's because Beverly's good.
Yeah. You know what? You realize, of course, that you got Beverly and I together up in Canada when we did that.
I know that.
Of course you know that. I was letting everybody else know it.
That's nice of you. I was playing this festival in Edmonton, And I went and watched this. I'm watching this lady do a workshop, and I went, "Oh my God, I'm going to fall in love with her if I don't get somebody else to." And I ran and got you. I said, "Rodney, you got to come see this woman and watch her play the banjo and talk and sing and dance." And you fell in love with her. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you, John. But you know what? You lucked out because you married Marilyn. Yeah. Marilyn is a talented, beautiful, positive human being. I mean, she's just a sweetheart. You're very fortunate, you know. By the way, is that your hair?
Where?
On your head.
Oh.
You know, most guys our age, you know, have the one.
Yeah, that's my hair.
Well, it's a wig. You don't
you have your hair.
My forehead is getting bigger, but it's my hair.
Yeah, I know that. I just was you always have it. Well, I want to talk about when I get to pick with you when you do the whole history of what you do with the video. You got a very, very entertaining production that you do when you go out on the road. You take some of the original cast members, some of the original band, which are all great, talented guys, and you tell the story with video when you do the Circle Be Unbroken with all the, you know, it just brings back all those really neat things. And
did you see how easily you fit into that?
Well, I just kind of come up there and you just kind of let me ramble.
The couple times that I've been fortunate enough to have you play with me, it was really good.
It was a blast.
This is about Earthman, the album.
Yeah, no, it's Old Road New. Yeah, Old Road New again. If we're going to do a crass thing, it's Old Road New again, and it's got a couple of people on there who've made pretty good history in the music world.
Don Henley.
Yeah, and Ricky Skaggs and
Don Henley opened for the Dirt Band in 1968 or 9 at the Troubadour.
Everybody opened for you.
Yeah, and then they went.
But so do you. I used to sit back and watch
maybe they went that way.
Oh, they did. But I used to sit back and watch you guys. You were on every pop rock show that ever happened, and you're associating with Ronstadt and all of that. That was just you came out of Orange County playing the banjo and ended up a world-renowned person.
Yeah, I wish I'd been a musician.
Oh man!
So where are we? I know what you haven't mentioned. You haven't mentioned A Night in the Ozarks.
Oh yeah, that's what you did.
Yeah, I wanted to honor you guys for being what you were, and I put together this documentary to shoot in Salem, Missouri, of the original Dillards, the 4 Dillards that were out there in Salem at a farmhouse that I'd found to practice before a concert tour. That wasn't anyway, and it was really fun.
And I got to tell you, the best live sound, that was incredible. That was all live. There was no gimmicks or any tricks or that. That was live. Get it while you can, and that's it. Explain that, because people, they've got to understand what real recording is like, as opposed to, like I said, air conditioning parts.
This is about Earthman, Rodney.
Yeah, Earthman's good, but how much can you say?
Okay.
We need the history of how you record. That's where'd he go?
Have to get the product shot ready. I was approached 4 or 5 years ago by a guy that owns Chesky Records, and it was really good. He approached me because his name was Norm Chesky, and it was his label, and he'd made about 400 jazz albums and things like that. Yeah, and he wanted to make an album, and I told him what I wanted to do. He goes, "Sounds good to me." I recorded in this old church in Brooklyn, and I assembled a bunch of people. David Bromberg came. I thought I was going to get Bromberg to play on 2 songs. And he says, "Hey, I'll be there for the whole recording. How long are you doing?" I said, "Well, if you can come on the next day, we can rehearse a day and take 2 days to record." And he brought everything. And we made an album called Made in Brooklyn, which is, it's floating by right now. And this album was recorded with 1 microphone.
Yep.
And a lot of people say, we've got a $10,000 mic, a $5,000 mic. Well, Norm Chesky had one mic that was 180,000.
Well, you produced Steve Martin a couple of his albums, didn't you? Or one of them, or
just one of them? My brother did his first 4, and I did the 5th one, which was called The Crow. The Crow, new songs for the 5-string banjo, was Steve and his songs. He had written enough songs for 3/4 of an album, and he was going to, we could do Pretty Polly, we could do, no, Steve, write some more songs. And he wrote a few more songs, and by the time we got around to recording, he did it. He knocked it out of the park. I got a few. It was fun because, I mean, Steve has buku money, and no, I mean, sometimes, with COVID going on and you're in your house and you're looking around at stuff, gold album, the platinum album, whatever, they all have dates on them. And most of my dates are pretty old. Even this one, this got the Americana Album of the Year in New York City. But that was 9 years ago. What have you done?
I know.
Earthman is going to make a mark for Rodney Dillard. So if you have ever been a fan of the Darlin family, the Dillards, Rodney Dillard, or music in general, I think everybody should pick up Earthman and give it a shot. What's it matter? I'm talking to the people that haven't had their hair cut for 5 months.
Oh, like my haircut?
They havennn had their hair cut.
My hair.
Yeah. And how much she charge you? Nothing. The people that haven't had their hair colored for 4 or 5 months, you save $500 on that crap. And the people that just haven't been to a movie, you can spend $15 on it. How much are they?
It depends. It's Old Road New Again. It's the title of the album. Earthman was the first single we released on it. And I don't even know.
RodneyDillard.tv, $15.
Oh, there's Beverly. RodneyDillard.tv, $15. Buy now and you will receive an entire Vietnamese village.
So for $15, it's like, okay, I had $15 and I lost it. Oh, let's go. I don't know. I don't care. $15, and this is this man's life that he's put into this, and stuff, and promises, and people, and work, and legal stuff, and $15. I like seeing movies. I'll go spend $9 to $12 on a movie I don't even want to see just because it costs $35 million, and I'm only spending $10.
Oh, John.
Anyway, so Earthman's a really good album. I'm working on putting together the 50th year of the Circle Be Unbroken. It's a tabletop book about that big with big pictures. You've only seen the pictures, like that big for so many years. And now they're going to be this big. I've got 80 pictures of the studio and a lot of copy to fill in. And then I want to do a book about the Russia trip, which was 45 years ago.
I really think that extreme success sometimes is a chemical change in the brain. It actually changes your personality.
It can. I agree that it can. But things come along that add to changing that personality. Drugs of various kinds.
Yes.
I never did any drugs, and
you didn't have to.
A time or two when somebody's saying, "Hey, I'm 12 years sober. I'm 6 years sober." I said, "I'm celebrating 7 years sober." Oh, I'm celebrating sobriety too. I've been sober for 74 years.
Yeah, John. Well, you kept your head together.
I had to. I was road managing the dirt band, and then I had the 6 kids come along.
Yes, you did.
And a couple other things, and whatever. It's all fine. And I played the banjo. One of my favorite singers has always been Rodney Dillard, and I'm appreciative of the fact that you had me on.
Hey everybody, welcome to our Bluegrass show today, From Bluegrass to Newgrass. We are enjoying bringing this show to you despite a few glitches here and there. Thank you for hanging in there and keep online. I wanted to remind everybody, stellarjacks.com is our donation site, and on Venmo you can go to Jack's Hideaway. Got a lot more show coming up. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got Rhonda Vincent, we got Byron Burline, and a tribute to Will the Circle Be Unbroken. See you soon.
Hello, friends, and howdy, neighbors. Big Sandy here, very happy to be here as your video host for the afternoon as we make that musical journey from bluegrass to newgrass. Let's kick it off right now with the man who started it all. He gave the music its name, and for me, personally, he ignited my passion for the genre, for bluegrass music. As a young kid, I was really into Elvis Presley, and I wondered at an early age what his musical influences were. And that curiosity, along with a trip to the local library, led me directly to this man. Let's listen to Bill Monroe.
I have a number I'd like to do for you that I wrote myself, entitled Blue Moon of Kentucky.
Come from far away to dance all night till the break of day. When they called her a hollering, do-si-do, you knew Uncle Finn was ready to go. Hey, and about sundown, how the hill is above the town. Played the fiddle, Lord, how to bring. You could hear it talk, you could hear it sing.
In this awful world of sorrow, in this wicked path of sin, never thinking of tomorrow or what I'd lose in the end.
Oh, I can hear the doorbells ringing,
the doorbells ringing, where my friends and loved ones away. The angels singing just inside the pearly gate.
I've been carrying the one that I love. Her beautiful body is still here on earth, but her soul has been called above. Body and soul, body and soul, that's how she loved me, with body and soul.
But I put some blues and a little bit of jazz and the old Scotch bagpipe, a little bit of Irish music, you know, the old-time fiddle music, and a lot of gospel singers in bluegrass music like the Methodist, Baptist, and holiness like that. But it's got a drive to it that no other music ever had. And check back over and you'll see rock and roll got its time from bluegrass music.
Shine on the one that's gonna say goodbye.
Right there, the man who created the sound, Bill Monroe. I hope you enjoyed that extra helping of the man and his music. Okay, so Bill Monroe was the father of bluegrass music. Then Jimmy Martin was the king of bluegrass music. Why, he'd tell you so himself, whether you asked him or not. He was a character, always entertaining and always fantastic. Like many of the artists you're going to hear about today, he was an alumnus of Bill Monroe's Bluegrass Boys. Let's just listen to the high lonesome sounds of Jimmy Martin.
I was born way down in the Southland.
That's good. Yeah, somebody do that.
King of bluegrass music, make welcome from Nashville, Tennessee, Jimmy Martin.
Born way down, Lord, in the Southland. Woo-wee. Hang on, children. I ran away for the first time. When I was 4 years old, I'm a free-born man. My little home's on my back. I know every highway, every foot of back road, every mile of railroad track. Got a gal in Cincinnati, got a woman in San Antonio. Said I always love the girl next door. To any place that's home, I'm a free-born man. My little home is on my back. I know every inch highway, every foot of back road, every mile of railroad track. Guitar, I carry an old horse side. Said I hocked him out 100 times, but I always get it back. I'm a free-born man. My home is on my back. I know every highway, never put a back road, never mile of railroad track. You may not like my appearance, and you may not like my song. Lord, you may not like the way I talk. You like the way I'm gone. I'm a free-born man. My home is on my back. I know every highway, and never put a back road, never mile of railroad track. I'm a free-born man. I'm on my back. Oh, you understand, little Maggie, with a dram glass in her hand. She's drinking away her trouble. She's a courting another man. Pretty flower made to bloom, pretty stars were made to shine, pretty women were made to love 'em. Little Maggie was made for mine. Lay down your last gold dollar, lay down your gold watch and chain. Little Maggie's gonna dance her daddy. Listen to that old fiddle ring. Go away, little Maggie. Go and do the best you can. I'll get me another woman. You can get you another man. Thank you, folks. Thank you very much. That's an old timer there called Little Maggie. We hope you enjoyed it.
So good. From McClure, Virginia, a man who started in the 40s recording with his brother Carter, put out many great records as the Stanley Brothers, Dr. Ralph Stanley. Now, I've been blessed many times to see him perform over the years when he was still walking the face of this earth. One of the times I saw him right down the road at a Lutheran church right here in the city of Orange. Ralph Stanley. Okay, I'll be back in just a little bit. Don't go away. We're going to have more fun as we continue thumbing a ride from bluegrass to newgrass. See you in a bit.
Can you remember when we first really played together in front of an audience? I think it was at your college, correct? And what year was
Yes,
that?
1963.
63.
The first time I met you was November 22nd, 1963, which was a Friday, and we had a little show called Friday at 4. And that featured a lot of folk musicians, and a lot of the students would audition to be on that show. And I just happened to be on that show that day. Then I realized that you guys were on there. You were promoting your show at the Budai Club in Oklahoma City.
That's right.
You were down there, you know.
Yeah.
Brainerd. And so one of the ladies that worked at the Budai Club, before you went on, I was standing over by you guys for some reason. And the lady says, Doug, you need to hear this guy play the fiddle. And he looked at me and says, do you play fiddle? I said, yeah. He says, do you do old time tunes? And I said, that's all I know how to do. So he says, well, I want to hear you play. I said, when we finish, we'll play some. I said, okay. So you guys finished. I mean, I never heard anything like it. You guys were great. You had all your instruments packed up, ready to go back to Oklahoma City. And Doug says, wait a minute, I want to hear him play a fiddle tune. Can you get your fiddle out and just play something? So I got it out. He got his banjo. And I don't know whether you remember this or not. And I played Hamilton County Breakdown, the fastest tune I knew at that time. And before we got done with it, you got your guitar, Dean got his mandolin, and Mitch got his bass unpacked, and we sat there and played for an hour in that hall room, in that room. And then we went upstairs up there where you used to stay up above the Boudin Club, and we cut 20 or 30 fiddle tunes. And that's when you asked me, yeah, Heartbreak, that was it. And then you asked me to record with you.
Well, I got to tell you, when you laid that bow across that fiddle, never hearing it for the first, I had never hear music like that fill that room the way you played. All of us, it wasn't we were commanded to get our instruments and play with it. We had to. There was nothing could have stopped us to hear you play, and the tone you pulled, and the feel that you had was uniquely your own, even to this day. All the groups that you encouraged or played with, you had a distinctive feel. You know, I know, you know, all those other guys, Spiker and Heidi Forster and all those guys, they all had their style. But see, that's what made you unique and made you the success you were. You had your own thing, and you incorporated all that traditional feel into the music.
We're going to do this tune. This is the first tune I ever played with the group called the Dillards. And remember the Dillards? I just met them, and they asked me to sit in with them, and I didn't know what to play. I just played old-time fiddle tunes back in those days. And thought, well, I learned this tune from Tommy Jackson, and it was a tune called the Hamilton County Breakdown. And I thought, that's the fastest one I know, so I'll play that for them, and it worked. So they asked me to record an album with them. That was 1963 when I met them.
That the first time you came out, and we were discussing this, you and I, the other day, about you. We were down at the Troubadour where everybody hung out, Ronstadt and Henley and Fry and all those guys, and we'd all sit around and sing gospel tunes. And Linda was talking about that on some interview one time. And you pulled up in this Lincoln, and you were just, you had all the boys, and there you were. You pulled up, and we got in the car with you. You probably remember that better than me, because why did you have the Lincoln?
Well, let me tell you, October of '69, the Rolling Stones, Graham Parsons recommended me to the Rolling Stones to play fiddle on a country honk. It was called Honky Tonk Women.
Right.
So I went down there. They flew me out, and after I did the session, I was hanging around there with them, and I asked, well, Phil Kaufman was the roadie for me at that time.
Yeah.
He's the one that picked me up at the airport in this big limousine. So I said, you know, I think I called Doug or you or somebody. You were at Doug's house.
Yeah.
Or apartment. And I said, hey, I'll be over there in a minute. I want to see you guys. And so they let me have the car. He said, here's the keys to the car if you need. And so it was a big limousine, and I guess I stopped and got some cigars.
You did.
So I remember you and Doug came out, and I said, let's go down to the Troubadour. And you said, let me drive and give me a cigar. And we're all smoking. We're really important, you know.
Can you describe a little what it was like? Because I know this. I know that that Jack had built a studio out there, who owned Electra Records, who we were signed with, and it was there on La Cienega, and you cut that in that studio, didn't you?
Yes.
And they put
Well,
you
originally-
outside. They put you outside the studio doors on the street with a microphone.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, when I went in to finally do the session, we go inside the studio, and I did a couple of runs through in the studio, and Mick Jagger and Glenn Johns was the producer.
Glenn Johns, yeah.
They said, come on in. I thought, well, they don't like it. They're going to send me home. They said, no, we want you to go out on the sidewalk and record. And I thought, well, whatever you guys want, I'll do it, you know. So they put a little speaker out there. Instead of earphones, they put a speaker and a little old SM58 Shure microphone.
Wow.
I mean, the Doors, they all came down there. Leon Russell was there. Bonnie Bramlett, she's the only one that had a picture taken of watching me do it. That has surfaced. But so I started recording, and it was starting to get evening, you know, starting to get dusk, and my bow slipped about that much on this one take, and that's the take they liked. I said, "Did you hear my bow?" Oh, that's fine. We like that. We love that. That's where we're going to keep. I said, all right. So, and it was a thrill to be able to do that with him. But
well, you jumped right into it, didn't you? You hit it hard when you hit the ground. Came to L.A. What brought you to L.A. to move there?
The day before I got out of the Army, Doug Dillard, your brother, called me up on the phone. Says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm in the Army, but not tomorrow. I'll be out tomorrow." He says, "Good. I want you to come out and record with Gene and myself, Gene Clark, you know, Dillard and Clark."
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to judge the fiddle contest at Weezer, and then I'll go from there down to LA, and we'll do it. So it worked out. So when I got there, I'd planned on going back to Nashville. That was my plan coming out of the Army. Not only did that session with you, I did a movie score with Murray McLeod. And it was his first movie score that he did, an ABC movie of the week. And he was looking for a fiddle player. And while we were in the session doing the thing with Dylan Clark, he just started calling the studios, "Is there a fiddler around?" And he found me. And it's just crazy how things work. When I was out there in 4 days, I did 3 or 4 sessions. I thought, this is too good to be true. So that's when Doug and Gene says, "Why don't you join the band, move out here?" And I went, "I think that's a good idea." I've told this story many times, Rodney, and I always give you guys credit for me getting into business, you know, in the music business, because if it wasn't for you, I don't know what had happened. You know, I might have tried to keep coaching or who knows what.
Well, you'd been good at that too, because you're one of those people, anything that you attempt to do, you succeed at. So, but you had such a career out there. I remember turning on watching Star Trek one night, and there you were on Star Trek. Tell us about that.
Well, it was strictly what you look like, I think, you know, because, I mean, you had to be able to play a little bit, of course, and I got a call to go down and audition for this part, and they put me in the crew outfit. You had to be fairly slim, and you had to look right, and you had to look this look, and the kid that played Captain Riker, the dark-headed guy, he said, "Hey, I saw you playing for Flying Burrito Brothers in New York City back when I was in college." And he was all excited I was on the set with him. You just never know, you know, who.
See how many people you touched, you know, from that whole thing that was happening back then. We were all just sort of gathered around. In a way, we all kind of knew each other in a strange way, and we all sort of associated. It was a strange but neat experience back there, because all the guys who made history in the '60s kind of hung out together, and nobody does that anymore, I don't think. But that was a really good period of time where there was a lot of creativity going on, and Chris Hillman played on one of our records. Van Dyke Parks played the harpsichord in one of our, and of course, every time I could get the chance and you were busy, we needed a fiddle player. Of course, you're on speed dial, but we didn't have speed dial back then. It was the crank phone, wasn't it? And that cover I thought was very.
Trader in Our Midst.
Pardon?
Trader in Our Midst was the first album on United Artists. Then we did another one called Don't Give Up Your Day Job.
That one I remember because of the cover.
Yeah.
Did you get in trouble for that?
Well, that was Trader in Our Midst. They spent more money on that cover than we did to cutting the whole album. I mean, that was,
Rodney Dillard and his band. They've traveled many a road from their home in the Ozarks, but remain grounded in the values of Andy Griffiths Mayberry.
Andy understood people. He understood the interaction. He understood the heart-to-heart of music and communication. I look back at a bunch of guys from a small town. I think we did okay.
You're still recording. You're still playing. I'm still recording, and hope this next album I can go out doesn't stop me from recording. But we're blessed that we can still do what we do and enjoy it. Hey Byron, guess what? I got a surprise for you. I got one of your old picking buddies coming on with us here. You know who I'm talking about. I'll give you a few hints. He was in the Country Gazette, an incredible banjo player, in the Nashville Bluegrass Band, and about every band that really meant anything to the music. You know who I'm talking about, don't you? Albert Schwartz. No, I'm kidding. I mean, it's Alan Munday. Alan, where did you first meet Alan Munday, the banjo picker, for folks who just tuned in?
Well, Alan grew up in Norman, Oklahoma, the University of Oklahoma. So when I went to college, I used to see him, before I even met him, riding his bicycle around the campus. And he had these really weird cowboy boots on. You could see him, and he'd ride his bicycle. Finally, one day, I walked into the music hall, Homburg Hall there, which is a music school. They have a music hall. And he was playing banjo with this little group he had. And he was just learning how to play. He was real nervous, and he was just shaking like a leaf. But he was pretty good, And I went up and introduced myself to him. And then I got to know him, and then I got to introduce him to a guy by the name of Ed Shelton, who was a really great banjo player from Texas who moved to Oklahoma City.
Right.
So we were jamming. So I took Alan down there to jam with us, and that changed his whole life when he met Ed, because Ed showed him. And within like a month, Alan had progressed so much on his banjo. It was unbelievable. Then he just went on from there.
I'd like to bring into this conversation, and of course, Byron, you know this guy better than anybody, but he was one of the finest. Everybody says he's one of the finest. He's just a really good banjo player, maybe one of the finest. and a dry sense of humor, and maybe we can get into some of that. Would you come on in here, Alan Munday. There he is, right there, in the flesh. How are you, Alan?
I'm doing swell, thank you.
There's a lot of questions, a lot of things we want to know. And Byron, anything you want to jump in and help me out with, because you were in a band with him, so you know when he went to sleep, if he snored and all that stuff.
Right on.
So we
got a lot of stories we can tell.
I bet you can. Well, I hear you walk everywhere you go in Springfield. The Chapman boys said that when you come over and visit, you walk.
I walk quite a bit. I sure do. I'm trying to. My goal is to live forever. And
well, it's a good one to go for.
Yeah, I'll get as close as I possibly can.
I'm interested in knowing, what was your first banjo?
Actually, it was a Vega Ranger. Which Ranger was what it was called. It was the cheapest banjo that Vega made at the time, late 50s, early 60s.
Were you just walking down the street one time and heard the sounds of a banjo and went, "What's that?" How did you get acquainted with a banjo?
Miraculous thing. I could not. What is so funny about this music and about that record in particular is all at once it was like the best music I'd ever heard. I could not imagine how a human could do that, but I thought I could do it. So it was, there's something about that music that is really, really great, but really inviting you in. So I thought I could do it. So I continued, searching around, and ultimately found the Dillards Back Porch Bluegrass.
That's good. Well, Byron, jump in there, because I have a question to bring you into this. Byron, did you guys meet at our concert where there was no people?
Well, actually, we met a little earlier than that. Because I think I told you earlier that I used to see Alan riding his bicycle around the campus at OU. And then what stuck out was those boots. And I didn't know he played an instrument until I walked into Holmberg Hall one day. And there was still a Friday at 4 show, with a folk music show. And Alan and his little group he had there with him were playing. And that's when I went up and introduced myself to him. And
what
then we started
play. What tune were we playing?
Hamilton County Breakdown.
There you go.
What was it like picking on the Gazette, Alan?
Well, I had been in Nashville and worked a couple years with Jimmy Martin. And if you're familiar with him, he's one of the sort of grand characters and great musician and great band leader, and, wonderful repertoire of great material. And so I got to play with him. But it was Nashville, and Nashville has its own sort of thing. And even within Nashville, the bluegrass people at that time were yet another wad of conspiracy theories, so to speak.
You put it mildly, well spoken.
About music and stuff. So when I left there, I playing with Jimmy was really good, but it was not going to go anywhere for me. He was prickly to work with. And so I thought, well, I need to do something else. So I wrote, and this would be back in the days where I probably sat down with a pencil and wrote a letter to Byron and said, I'm going to leave Jimmy. I'd like to come to California. If there's anything going on out there, I'd be interested in. He probably wrote to me and said, well, they're getting this group together, Country Gazette. They need a banjo player. Would I be interested? So of course. So we started communicating, and I went out there, and Byron, I don't know if he went through the whole Burrito Brother story or not.
Not the whole story.
Well, Byron called me up and said, they're going to do this. And I don't want to go through all the details of it because it's just complicated. But they're going to go tour Europe as the Flying Burrito Brothers. Would I go along, play guitar and banjo, because they do a little bluegrass thing in the middle. But January 2nd, Byron and I got on an airplane out of Oklahoma City and flew up to New York City, and I met Roger Bush and Kenny Wirtz and the rest of the bunch that was going over to Europe. We went over, played a couple of weeks Byron and I flew back to Oklahoma City, got in our cars, and I followed Byron out to California.
What people should understand who are watching this, they need to know that this is really all the stuff that was working underneath the musical change that was happening on the West Coast, which went and finally affected Nashville and it kind of reorganized their thoughts about how the music was and where it was going. Back then, we were all fighting the traditional mindset that you have to play the song in the same key that Monroe did. You had to play the same licks. But I refer back to, if you do that, we have all the Monroes we need. We had all the Flatt and Scruggs. There's only one. So you have to take that and make it your own. That happened, and that all happened with you guys, and that was all underneath what affected all the guys who had the hit records and the rock and roll dudes. This had a very, very important impact on the musical change that happened in the 60s. Oh, I got one for you. Alan had come on stage, we do festivals together, and all of a sudden, was it Eleanor Rigby you guys played? What was the Beatles song that you guys played, Alan?
Eleanor Rigby. Oh.
And he kicked in Eleanor Rigby, and then all of a sudden you hear this phase shifter on his banjo. But there was no sign of it on stage.
Right.
So people were going, where'd it come? What's going on here? And of course, he worked it out for the sound booth, and so you know how that works.
You both know this gentleman, Jim Dixon.
Yes.
Jim Dixon produced our first several records. And for me, I had never met anybody quite like him. And Dixon had been around a lot of different kinds of music. And he really, in a way, was not a bluegrass guy. He liked music and happened to hear bluegrass, and he liked that just fine. And he approached it from a point that it was not a traditionalist. He would just listen to it and go, well, don't do that right there. And I would go, well, that's what banjo players do right there. And he says, why do they do that right there? And I guess they like it. We said, well, try not doing that.
When I look back, boy, I must have been green, popping in the country, fishing in the stream, looking for an answer, trying to find a sign, until I saw your city lights. Honey, I was blind. They said, get back, honky cat, better get back to the woods. Well, I quit those days and my redneck ways, and the Jimmy's gonna do me good. Well, I read some books and I read some magazines about those high-class ladies down in New Orleans, and all the folks back home said I was a fool. They said, believe in the Lord is the golden rule. You better get back, honky cat, living in the city ain't where it's at. It's like trying to find gold in a silver mine. It's like trying to drink whiskey, from a bottle of wine.
Because of what we did in California, see, we're all not California people, but all of us players are recognized as coming from California. And that, we were the California Bluegrass Band, we were the California musicians, not realizing that we came from another part of the country and we weren't really native Californians. We brought the music with us, didn't we?
Right. Oh, yeah.
And we were always accused of grinding up sacred cows for hamburgers when we took the music and changed it a little bit. And I took a lot of heat from that, but that was in the early days. I think maybe things got better, but to try to blaze that trail, you get yourself in trouble with the diehards.
Right. Well, there's a lot of bands out there right now that wouldn't be doing the music they're doing if it hadn't been for the Dillards.
Well, I think we were all involved in that, and we all had our share. I guess we probably ought to wrap this up now, and I want to thank you guys again for doing this. I can't tell you what it means to me. I'm not going to get emotional here, but to see you guys again together, even though it's on ones and zeros here, and be able to talk about it. And it just really just made my day. And
it's been great to see you, Alan and Rodney, you know, and to hear you guys talking about old days and stuff like that. So hope we can keep doing it.
Yeah.
And
as
hope
the
we see
English
each other
say,
in person soon.
as the English say, bash on regardless. And
Owensboro, to some folks, a little bit of undiscovered land. But I think when people do learn about Owensboro and what there is here to offer, especially from a cultural tourism standpoint, I think the word authenticity comes to mind. When you think about bluegrass, these are some things that are really baked into our culture. And I feel like this is a time where we're just really living that out really well.
It was a long time coming. And a long time as far as Owensboro and bluegrass music deserves an Americana music tribute like this, and a place to show off our history, our roots, and all the great things that Kentucky, Owensboro, and bluegrass music contributed to the world.
Bluegrass music deserves this. The greats of bluegrass, I can look on the wall and see their photos, and for me, you know, it just harkens back to a wonderful time as I was growing up and loving their music, and I still love the masters of bluegrass music.
What we wanted to do is create an experience that is unique. It's already unique in the fact that this is the only cultural center dedicated solely to bluegrass music. This is our opportunity to make this a very unique attraction. We have twice the exhibit space, so we had the luxury of telling the story in kind of unique, compelling ways and updating how we tell that story. But then one of the things that I think is really a big change from our former location is that the building is designed so that folks can experience the music behind the exhibits. Live bluegrass music, I think, really energizes everything that we do.
To see how far we are today compared to what it was 30 plus years ago, because we had no home, we had no representation at all, and it's just by the good fortunes of the Almighty that we all this came about the same time. The city of Owensboro, from the get-go, have been the strongest ally for our music that we've ever had. You know, they are truly genuine in their outpouring of affection for the music and the artist.
Internationally, bluegrass is such a huge draw. With the Bluegrass Museum, Owensboro can truly be an international mecca and a major attraction for international visitors because they are very in tune with bluegrass. Bluegrass is something they grew up with, something that is true Americana, and they want to experience it.
This is the only Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame and museum. It's here in Owensboro. I mean, we are to this genre what the Country Music Hall of Fame is to country music in Nashville.
Congratulations, Owensboro. You've done a wonderful job, and you've given bluegrass music a home for a museum. Well deserved. Thank you.
I'm digging the bluegrass. Hope you are too. Big Sandy here again. Now let's talk about Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs. Another pair of alumni from Bill Monroe's Bluegrass Boys. Going back to the mid-40s. They left Monroe's outfit, struck out on their own, and found huge success as a duo. They were an influence on hundreds of thousands of musicians over the subsequent decades as Flatt and Scruggs. Let's listen to Flatt and Scruggs right now, along with, through the marvels of technology, modern-day disciples of theirs, the Earls of Leicester. Here are Flatt and Scruggs.
I've been all around this whole wide world. I've been down sunny Alabama. Mama always told me, son, never let your deal go down. Don't let your deal go down. Don't let your deal go down. Oh, honey, don't let your deal go down. Till your last $1 down. go down. Oh, honey, don't let your deal go down till your last old dollar's Oh, I'm going down the railroad track. I'm gonna take my rocking chair. If these doggone blues don't leave my mind, I'm gonna rock away from here. Oh, honey, don't let your deal go down. Don't let your deal go down. Oh, honey, don't let your deal go down till your last $4. Ah, little number entitled Don't Let Your Deal Go Down.
Here are the Osborne brothers in Roll Muddy River.
Roll, muddy river, roll on, muddy river, roll on, muddy river, roll on, muddy river. I've got a notion you'll go to the ocean, roll on, muddy river, roll on. I've got a baby in Tennessee who's long been a-waiting for a little old me. Roll, muddy river, roll on, muddy river, roll on, muddy river, roll on. New Orleans on the old St. Louis, stopped in Memphis, Minneapolis too. Back in Nashville I'll be through, so roll, muddy river, roll on, muddy river, roll on. Roll, muddy river, roll on, muddy river, roll on, muddy river, roll on, muddy river. I've got a notion you'll go to the ocean, roll on, muddy river, roll on. I've got a baby in Tennessee who's long been a-waiting for a little old me. Roll, muddy river, roll on, muddy river, roll on, muddy river, roll on. You'll be here, but she won't wait. So roll, muddy river, roll on, muddy river, roll on. Roll, muddy river, roll on, muddy river, roll on, muddy river, roll on, muddy river. I've got a notion you'll go to the ocean, roll on, muddy river, roll on. I've got a baby in Tennessee who's long been a-waiting for a little old me. Roll, muddy river, roll on, muddy river, roll on, muddy river, roll on. Roll, muddy river, roll on, muddy river, roll on, muddy river, roll on.
Just like professionals. Just like professionals. Thank you very much, boys. The Osborne brothers, folks.
Oh, from the mountains of Kentucky. And just kicking A right there. The Osborne brothers. They were one of the first progressive bluegrass bands in the 60s, pushing the music forward, amplifying their sound, and just moving it, kicking it up a notch there. The Osborne brothers. Now let's talk about bluegrass festivals. As a young person, I was very lucky to have the chance to go to quite a few of them. Every time I did, one of the acts I was always excited to see on the lineup was Vern Williams. We're going to see Vern in just a little bit, along with the great Rose Maddox. But first, here's a clip from one of the first bluegrass festivals I went to. I was there this night. Just about 20 minutes from where I sit right now in Norco, California. Here are the great Jim and Jesse.
This is one of the first numbers we ever put on record, and the one entitled "Are You Missing Me?"
The day that I kissed you and told you goodbye, your lips told me that you would wait, and your lips deceived me and told me a lie, while your heart was sealing my fate. Are you all alone with a memory? from the blue. Our castles came tumbling as I let it over. I still can't believe that it's true. Are you all alone with the memory? Now that I am gone, darling, are you missing me?
Wheels are turning underneath my feet as I pull the shade down on my window seat. Praying where I'm going is better than where I've been. And a stranger sits down as if he's right at home, touches me and says, I see you're traveling alone. And by the way, son, you forgot to say amen. He said, I guess there's something here I need to explain. I try to talk to everyone riding this train. Some of them listen, but most don't pay me no mind. And the train keeps rolling, the world keeps turning. All aboard, everybody gotta get on. Take that woman with the frown sitting across the aisle, with a briefcase open now 90 miles. She never even noticed that laid back and horseshoe bend. And a couple with the kids at the front of the car, fussing all the way about some cookie jar. I'm gonna ask them what they saw at their journey's end. And that fellow I left shit in the back got a smile on his face through a paper sack. Around the window, but he can't see past the pane. And the train keeps rolling, the world keeps turning. All aboard, everybody.
he slows down unexpectedly. As I raise my blind, he slaps my knee, saying, "This is my stop, son, but you won't be traveling alone." I look out my window to wave him goodbye, but there's nobody there, just the light in the sky. Lose my breath and my blood runs cold as stone. I can feel the wheels are turning underneath my feet. Life looks different from my window seat. Knowing where I'm going is better than where I've been. And the train keeps rolling. The train keeps rolling. The world keeps turning. The world keeps turning. All aboard. All aboard. Everybody's gotta get on board.
Keep on that great tradition of Flat and Scruggs and Bill Monroe, and keep it true to the roots of it. But you have this open-mindedness that'll wander you down the songwriting pathway of Richard Thompson, or to play with Steve Earle or the Preservation Hall Jazz Band, or to play these jam band festivals. Did someone in particular inspire you about that kind of open-mindedness? Let's branch out.
You know, we don't know what we're doing.
Right there, from two different phases of his career, thanks to video magic, delightful Del McCoury, a man who held on tightly to the music's roots, was still managing to push the music forward. And we will be pushing the music forward when I come back in just a little bit. Stick around, I'll be right back.
The Dillards have just released a new album, Old Road, New Again.
This old road was blazed in glory. This old road has always been. Now when someone tells the story, this old road is new again.
The special guests on this CD have changed the course of music history. Don Henley, Herb Peterson, Bernie Ledden, Sam Bush, Ricky Skaggs, Sharon and Cheryl White all appear with the Dillards on this new LP.
Fiddle and the bow and the firelights glow. You can hear that lonesome sound. I'll leave behind my trouble in mind and go the whole world round.
It's the bookend to the band's historic Wheat Straw Sweet album, and it's the first new release since 1992 by the Dillards.
Will I have a sense of peace or be haunted by regret when I face my last sunset?
John McEwen, musician and founding member of the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, wrote the liner notes for Old Road, New Again. He says, "Without Rodney Dillard's influence on my young notes and attitude, there would not have been a Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, nor a Will the Circle Be Unbroken." While proudly displaying the Dillards' bluegrass and string band ancestry, Old Road New Again is, like its predecessor, enhanced and enlivened by the sounds of drums, cello, electric bass. The album's title track, which features Henley and Bernie Ledden, is a mini history of the Dillards' fabled music journeys. It name-checks many of the acts the Dillards influenced, including the Byrds, the Eagles, Buffalo Springfield, the Kentucky Colonels, and of course, the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. When someone tells the story, the chorus rings out, "This old road is new again."
This old road was blazed in glory. This old road has always been. People help me tell the story. Make this new road old again. Make this new road old again.
Hey, everybody. Are you having as much fun as I am? I mean, this bluegrass stuff, I love it. I just love it. This is the time of the show where we introduce our high rollers. And once again, at the top of the list is our best friend, Julie Abnett from the Midwest, Minnesota. In fact, I saw her this morning on a TV clip talking about the Minnesota State Fair. Nice going, Julie. Let's not forget Diane Ealing. Diane Ealing is a high roller and big supporter of this show. Lincoln Zimank. Lincoln Zimank. He's kicked in a bunch of money too over the weeks. And Marie Nadald. Thank you, Marie. We appreciate your support too. We've got a tribute coming up for Will the Circle Be Unbroken. That's going to be real special. But first, I want to remind everybody to hit that tip jar. This is how we pay our musicians that appear on this show. And let me tell you, they need the money, as we all do, but they need it the most because there are no gigs coming up for them, and most of them are not going to be touring for a very long time. So please go to stellarjacks.com or on Venmo, Jack's Hideaway. Now, on with the show.
I was standing by my window on one cold and cloudy day when I saw the hearse come rolling for to carry my mother away. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky.
I was living in a commune in Kalamazoo, and I owned a used record store when a copy of this triple album dropped into my lap. It changed my life. It opened the door to exploring a wider world of roots music than I had ever been exposed to before. Here's the story of how and why this landmark album, Will the Circle Be Unbroken, came to be. It was the first time the long-haired generation got together with the older generation to honor the music as equals. The collaboration transcended social and political boundaries and brought the two worlds together in their love of great country music. It bridged the cultural gap by bringing relative newcomers together with established country stars, a melding of California and Nashville. It may have been acoustic mountain music, but when Roy Acuff heard a cut, he said, that's country. And then he added, let's make some more.
I was a teenage banjo player, and I just started a new group, Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. And it was 1966. And by 1970, we were playing at Vanderbilt University for the first time. And the students were saying, Earl Scruggs is coming tonight. Earl Scruggs is, yeah, sure. We wish he would, but I never met Earl. And sure enough, he showed up with his entire family. And that led to a friendship that 6 months later, I asked Earl at Tulagis in Boulder, Colorado. This is 1971. I said, Earl, would you, I'm driving him back to the hotel every night. He's playing for 5 nights. And the last night, Earl, would you consider, do you think maybe, what is it, John? I said, would you, I was wondering, would you want to record with the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band? And I'd be proud to. And that made my night. So a week later, Doc Watson was playing the same club. And I hadn't met Doc before, but I met his son, Merle Watson, in LA 3 months earlier. And I told Merle it was too crowded to meet Doc. I don't want to meet him here. There's too many people. But you're going to be in Boulder, Colorado in 3 months, and I'll meet you out there and tell you if Earl says yes or not. And Merle and I got along great. He was a couple years younger than me. And so I go up to Merle Watson at Tulagi's. I said, Merle, Earl said yes. Oh, I got to introduce you to Daddy. You know, this folk music thing is kind of dying down and crowds are getting smaller. And I told him what I wanted to do, which was then put Earl and Doc together. And then Doc said yes. I put him on the phone with my brother, and they finished it up that night.
Way downtown, fooling around, took me to the jail. Oh, me and so mine, ain't no one to go my bail. It was late last night when Willie came home. I heard him rapping on the door. He is a slipping and a sliding with his new shoes on. And Papa said, Willie, don't you rap no more. Way downtown, fooling around, they took me to the jail. Oh, me and it's oh my, ain't no one to go my babe. Oh, ain't that sweet, that fiddler? Let's hear you now, Les. I wish I was over at my sweet Sally's house, sitting in that big armchair, one arm around my old guitar and the other one around my dear. Way downtown, feeling around, took me to the jail. Oh, me and so my, ain't no one to go my babe.
My brother's going, I'm going to get Merle Travis. Oh, yeah. We'd worked with Merle Travis in 1967. Our first important LA job was opening for Merle Travis for 10 days. We made $130 a piece for 10 days. I think it was, yeah, about that. And, but it was worth it. We were all living in the same house in Hollywood Hills. So Merle Travis is on board. And then Earl, do you think can you get Maybelle Carter?
I will dance, I will sing, and my love shall be gay. I will charm every heart in his crown, I will sway. When I walk from my dream in my idol's clay, all portion of love had all flown away.
And can Louise or somebody maybe ask Jimmy Martin?
Honey, you don't know my mind. I'm lonesome all the time. You're born to lose a drifter, and that's me. You can travel for so long, then a rambler's heart goes wrong. Baby, you don't know my mind today. Every dirty old jail. That life's too short for you to worry me. When I find I can't win, I'll be checking out again. Baby, you don't know my mind today.
And what about Roy Acuff?
I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. I wandered so aimless, life filled with sin. I wouldn't let my dear Savior in. Then Jesus came like an angel in the night. Praise the Lord, I saw the light.
And Earl got those Acuff, and as he said, I found a fiddler that can handle all the styles needed. His name's Vassar Clemens. And I said, well, can he do it all? And Earl's response was, he'll do. Okay, he'll do. I hadn't heard Vassar. I heard his music. In those days, they didn't put credits on the albums, but Vassar had played on a third of the bluegrass albums I had. Osborne Brothers and some Flat and Scruggs and different things. Bill Monroe. He did Tall Timber with Bill Monroe in 1948. Bill Monroe and Bobby Hicks. It was great. And the bass player came in. We got to town, and Earl said to my brother and me, I want to take you backstage at the Opry to meet the bass player. We're going to the backstage at the Opry with Earl Scruggs, so it couldn't get better. And we went, and the bass player's like, oh, boy, I'm looking forward to playing these songs with you. He's playing along with Ernest Tubb. And, yeah, just a minute, boys. Yeah, it's really good. You know, I figured, well, if he can play along and know when the ending is coming while he's talking to us, he's the right guy. And Acuff, Earl set up the meeting. And we went and had a meeting with Acuff the week before when we were rehearsing. And that's how the album came together. And I'm leaving somebody out. Well, Bashful Brother Oswald was for sure included. And wanted to make him a star. He has a couple of his own songs on there because he was half of Roy Acuff. Acuff never let him know that it was Bashful Brothers Oswald Dobro that was putting in the personality on those songs. And my mom would say to me, who is that man playing the dobro? He always makes me cry every time I hear it. And anyway, so that's kind of how it came about. It was recorded in 6 days, 2-track, 35 songs, and it just whizzed by. 6 days.
There's someone I'd like to introduce you to who I'm just really honored to share the screen with her. This person, and this I really believe this, has changed and affected bluegrass music in the last decade more than anyone. She's a Missouri person, and one of my favorite singers, her and Leona Williams. And I just want to introduce this lady to you, Rhonda Vincent. Hey, Rhonda.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Rodney.
Hey, you made it. Yeah.
I did. Woo!
You made it to McDonald's, huh?
Yes, I'm sitting on the curb at McDonald's in order to make this work.
Will you order me a cart of cheese?
I could do that. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you've taken your time to do this. I have watched you over the years because I'm an old guy and I've been around a long time. And I watched you with the Sally Mountain Show. In
Oh
fact,
my goodness.
You would come up to Silver Dollar City when I had the nighttime show there and visit the Caltons. Annette?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We were staff musicians there at Silver Dollar City. So, I grew up there and just everyone being friends there. What a wonderful experience.
And what a neat way to be introduced to the entertainment world.
That's right.
It wasn't like we did going to Hollywood when I was 20 years old and facing the sharks, which was a lot of fun. Are you back?
Is it me? Do you want me to try Panera?
But you grew up in the music and it's been a part of your life. So it isn't something you discovered at a later age and say, oh, I like this kind of music. It's in your genes. I mean, it's in your blood because your parents played. So you've had that experience. My folks were pickers too. My dad was an old time fiddle player and mom played the guitar. So I actually thought everybody played music. All the family did. And I think probably that I want to know something. What zeroed in you? How did you zero in on the mandolin? You use that mandolin like a chainsaw in the woods, because you're very aggressive and very, very confident in how you play, and every note is there, and every note makes a statement. And do you have a video or something that would show that?
There's probably a video. I was trying to think if there's an instrumental that is from our All the Rage Volume 1. That's the one that there's probably the most. But I mean, there's all kinds of them. I think there might be a video of the 8th of January, and I get to start it off. So maybe if you can play a video of 8th of January, even though it's probably not the 8th of January today.
You know what? I'd like to see your performance again. I watch you on YouTube all the time, or I can get you on your Facebook, and you're really open to your fans, and I know you love what you do. Some do it just to, for other reasons, but you really love what you do, and that shows in your music. I think you could have sung any kind of music you ever wanted to sing and could. And why you chose bluegrass is because it's just your family played. Aww. But you got, boy, I'll tell you, you got a set of pipes on you. And when you deliver a lyric, they a lot of times these younger people will sing. They'll go, and I can't understand what they're saying. But when you deliver a lyric, you sell that lyric, and it goes into your heart. And that's what I love about your singing.
Oh.
Well, what would you hear? Why don't we hear?
Thank you.
Could we see a piece of that, guys, so we can see a video? What's one of your favorite performances? We get asked this, but it is hard to discern. But what's one of your favorite performances that you have made in recent years?
Well, one of my favorites is a song that I wrote with bluegrass broadcaster Terry Hurd, and it was on a Grammy-winning CD, All the Rage Volume 1. So it's on DVD and it's on audio. So it's one called Kentucky Borderline.
She pulled out a mobile in the pouring rain, moving through the darkness like a hurricane. From southern Gulfport waters to the Cumberland so green, Louisville to Nashville and all points in between. Pounding out a rhythm, making up lost time, heading for that bluegrass state of mind. White smoke rolling, whistle blowing, listen to her engine keeping time. Kentucky borderline. town. White smoke rolling, whistle blowing, listen to her engine keeping time. Kentucky borderline. Her lungs are full of fire, breathing burning coal, a raging locomotion like thunder when it rolls, singing for the mighty who cast their molten steel from the spike and led the rail to ride beneath the wheels. The pride of our nation, she's a monument to them, a southern belle that mighty element. White smoke rolling, whistle blowing, listen to her engine keeping time. Kentucky borderline. White smoke rolling, whistle blowing, listen to her engine keeping time. Kentucky borderline. Kentucky borderline.
I started playing mandolin quite by necessity. We played in Marceline, Missouri for a guy named Buck Cody, and it was a country music show. My dad, he'd play electric guitar and banjo. My mom played upright bass, and I guess I was 7, 8, and I would just sing, and a lot of the other musicians' wives just sang. And so, but the guy said, this is simple economics. He decided anybody who didn't play an instrument didn't get paid. And everybody made $10 each Saturday night. So my dad gave me a mandolin and he said, here's G, C, and D, and you're gonna be playing this for 2.5 hours every Saturday night. And so that's how I started playing. Then my dad would pick me up from school each day and we played till dinner, and after dinner, friends came over and we'd play till bedtime. And he'd say, take it, Rhonda. Well, after a while, it's like, take it what? So I started, listening. This is back when we had the vinyl and we would slow the records down to 16 and I would start working on mandolin solos. So when Dad said, take it, Rhonda, I was able to take it. So that's how I started playing. And then I just grew to love that instrument. At 12, he said, you know what? It's the fiddle is tuned the same as the mandolin. So you might as well start playing fiddle. Well, that's just, the fiddle slaves me. And when I started playing and played a lot of contests, Missouri State Fair in 1973, and I'm the 1973 Missouri State Fiddle Champions.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, I'll tell you, your persistence in playing that mandolin has brought joy to a lot of folks. The way you play, you got a real strong right hand and knowledge of the instrument, and it's just really cool. You play the unexpected, and that's what I like about what you do, because a lot of bluegrass sometimes gets to sound the same because they copy each other. But what you did is you blazed the trail. You did not follow a path, and that's what put you where you are today, the queen of bluegrass.
Well, thank you. Can't say I always like to learn the songs that no one else was doing. I didn't really think about it till you said that, but if it was what's a standard Sally Gooden on the fiddle, I wanted to play Texas Crapshoot or something, the tune that no one else was playing. So I guess that's a very good observation.
Yeah, well, you're one of the gifted few. We need folks like that to play the music and keep the music alive, but don't let it die by just keeping it the same. It's not a museum piece. It's to be
right. Yeah, I totally agree.
And experimented with.
Well, and my husband will say, you could retire. You could, like, we now. Like, he's in golfs and he would just kick back and he said, you know what, you don't have to do this. You could just relax. And he said, or just do some shows. He said, you don't need to record. It's like, but I love coming up with something different and something new. I guess staying current, I don't really think of it as current like that, but it is. I have a lot of people say, oh, well, you do this. Well, everybody can do that. Why don't you do that? It's the same thing with Dolly. During the quarantine, she's working on a Christmas album. I ended up getting to sing on 2 songs and play mandolin on one of the songs. And Charlie Daniels, he was doing that. It was the Bo Weevils, Geechee Geechee Ya Ya, and I ended up getting to be in that. Is probably his final project that he worked on. I love that they were music and creating new things. And I guess
Well, you have a passion for it, and that's what you do. I am 78 years old, and my wife and I just sat down and wrote an album called Songs That Made Charlene Cry from the Andy Griffith Show. You always,
wow.
Dirty Me, I'm disgusted with myself. We wrote lyrics to all of that, and we'll be coming out that maybe next year. But you recognize the creativity in some people who have it, and not just copy other people, and that's what you've done. And like I said, I'm redundant, but you have changed the music for the good over the years. You just came in and pushed those guys with the cowboy hats out of the way and took over. Do you have a video that shows that? Where you took over the paradigm, as they would say?
Well, if you played the Heartbreaker's Alibi, that was something that was way different. Dolly is a guest on that. It's a duet with Dolly, and
yes.
They spray paint on phone cords, the curly phone, wrap me up. So yeah, that was kind of a cutting edge for bluegrass and something different.
Drove into the parking lot, I couldn't believe my eyes. Oh, there's that pretty Jenny with that man of mine. And it's another heartbreaker's alibi. It's another cold-hearted, dirty lie. There'll be a long trail of tears left behind. But my eyes have been opened, now she's the one who's blind. It's another heartbreaker's alibi. It's another cold-hearted, dirty lie. There'll be a long trail of tears left behind. My eyes have been opened, now she's the one who's blind. It's another heartbreaker's alibi. It's another cold-hearted, dirty lie. There'll be a long trail of tears left behind. But my eyes have been opened, now she's the one who's blind. Yes, my eyes have been opened, now she's the one who's blind.
Rhonda, it's really been great having you on this with all of us, and we just appreciate you and what you've done with the music. And don't ever quit. Just keep, as the English say, bash on regardless. And it was great having you today. And God bless you. And hope to see you soon.
Thanks for having me as your guest. And you know what? You have to say, this is why I named my recording studio Adventure Studio, because every day for me is an adventure.
Amen. Amen.
But I am blessed. I am thankful. So it's all good.
Amen. Amen.
I was traveling along, playing anywhere I could, when along came a virus and took away my livelihood. Somebody picked it up and spread it worldwide, and now for a while we have to all stay inside. You ask me how I'm doing and if I've washed my hands, and I say, listen, bud, I've had about as much as I can stand. I ain't been nowhere, man. I ain't been nowhere, man. Been sitting in my chair, man. Growing out my hair, man. Sleeping, I've done my share, man. I ain't been nowhere. I'm watching Netflix, Apple, Disney, and Amazon, YouTube, Roku, Hulu with pajamas on, Tiger King, Schitt's Creek, Mazeland, South Park, Star Wars, Star Trek, Ozarks, getting dark, cleaned up, dirty up, organized all around. I saw quarantine, see what I mean now? I ain't been nowhere, man. I ain't been nowhere, man. Been sitting in my chair, man. Growing out my hair, man. Sleeping, I've done my share, man.
I know someplace we'd like to go.
I ain't been nowhere.
Big Sandy back again as we venture from bluegrass to newgrass. Let's check in again with the man we talked about earlier in the show, Earl Scruggs from Flat and Scruggs. At this point, it's the early 70s, and he's at a point in his career where he's wanting to branch out a little bit outside of the traditional bluegrass realm. He wanted to explore other styles of music and work with other kinds of artists. Most of what you're going to see here speaks for itself, so I'll just let it fly. Let it roll. Earl Scruggs.
The influence of country music on the West Coast is felt even in the hippie community of San Francisco. The Flower Children are drawn by the traditional bluegrass music of Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs and the Foggy Mountain Boys. The purity of their non-amplified string music is not diluted by any circumstance, not even by a psychedelic light show at the Avalon.
This is Earl Scruggs, master of the five-string banjo. He's playing here with his sons, Gary and Randy, and with Bob Dylan. He became famous over the last 30 years by playing old-time country mountain music with people like the Morris Brothers, Bill Monroe, Doc Watson, Lester Flatt, and others. He's now playing the music of Bob Dylan, the Beatles, Simon and Garfunkel, and Joan Baez.
Johnny, my man on that West Virginia line. Ought to seen John Hardy getting away, poor boy. Ought to seen John Hardy getting away. Take a break, y'all.
I had a big pasteboard box of jams and jellies and biscuits. Mama, she didn't want me to go hungry or anything.
Okay, the 1977 lineup of the progressive group that pushed bluegrass music forward throughout the 70s, 80s, and beyond. Newgrass Revival. Bluegrass to Newgrass. See? It was a lot like the old grass, just maybe a little hairier. All right. So where do we go from here? Well, to perhaps the unlikeliest of places, the Netherlands. Dealer's choice. These guys are my friends. The Bluegrass Boogeymen have been playing since 1990, touring throughout Europe and over here in the States as well. As a matter of fact, I think it was in 1998 that they played in Guthrie, Oklahoma at Brian Berline's festival. They played with the Dillards, and they developed a relationship with Chris Hillman and Herb Peterson, who we'll see in a little bit. They put out an album last year with Tim Knoll, who we'll also see, that debuted at #1, which is an incredible feat for a bluegrass record. Ladies and gentlemen, let's dig the Bluegrass Boogeymen.
The day that I kissed you but told you goodbye, your lips told me that you would wait, but your lips deceived me and told me a lie, while your heart was sealing my fate. Are you all alone with the memory now that I am gone, darling? Are you missing me? Then out of the clear sky a letter then came, and just like a bolt from the blue, my castle came tumbling as I read it o'er. I still can't believe that it's true. It said that in spite of the vows you had made, the glitter of gold turned your head. And while I was trying employment to find, you married another instead. Are you all alone with the memory? Now that I am gone, darling, are you missing me? Alone with the memory. Now that I am gone, darling, are you missing me? Hey!
The Bluegrass Boogeymen.
When birds sang out their mellow tunes all through the break of day, I walked 4 miles on a muddy road, feeling misunderstood. I sat down and closed my eyes down in the deep dark woods, and the wind through the leaves seemed amplified. The liquor still tasted good. Sorrow bursting through the clouds is pouring down on me. Time to listen to my doubts next to that old alder tree. I sat down and closed my eyes down in the deep dark woods, and the wind through the leaves seemed amplified. The liquor still tasted good. The hollow tree went wild, woke me up and threw me aside. Go round the bend, be back again with the reset of the mind. I sat down and closed my eyes down in the deep dark woods, and the wind through the leaves seemed amplified. I was feeling good. I can't even kiss her, I can't even hold her hand. Remember we used to love beneath the still up in the sky. Now I'm just a hot shot, a tear up in mine. Love her and leave her, kiss her and grieve her. That used to be my motto so high. Till my sophronie left me so lonely. Now there's tear up in mine. That sweet girl, oh, she means more to me than the whole wide world. I used to be a killer, the women me oh my. Now I'm just a hot shot, a tear up in mine. Love her and leave her, kiss her and grieve her. That used to be my motto so high. Till my sophronie left me so lonely. Now there's a tear up in mine. Amsterdam, oh I loved him very much at first, but then I let him down. I've seen so many pretty eyes filled with many tears. Finally forget them, now I have my fears. Love her and leave her, kiss her and grieve her. That used to be my motto so high. Till my sophronie left me so lonely. Now there's tear up in mine.
Oh. Hij is helemaal goed. Pak je. Zo.
Nou, je borstel ligt de veen wel dicht. Dus.
Oh.
Ja, lekker aan.
Lekker aan.
Lekker.
Oh, I'm so proud to run those clips of those friends of the Fly Right family, the Bluegrass Boogeymen. I'd like to personally thank our guests for the day, John McEwen, Brian Berline, Alan Mond, Rhonda Vincent. I'd like to thank the ones who put the show together, Christopher Burkhardt, Tim Ellis, and especially a round of applause, please, for our host for the afternoon, Rodney Dillard. And as a matter of fact, before I cut out, let's revisit Rodney and the boys. Let's go way back for this one. Once again, the Dillards.
You could hear the whistle blow 100 miles. Oh, Reuben made a train and he put it on with friends. He ran it to the Lord knows where. Oh, wait, oh, my, you can hear the whistle blow 100 miles. Lord, you ought to have been uptown and have seen that train come down. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles. Oh, hey, oh, my, you can hear the whistle blow 100 miles. Well, I've been to the east, I've been to the west, and I'm going where those chilly winds don't blow. Oh, hey, oh, my, you can hear the whistle blow 100 Oh, hey, oh, my, you can hear the whistle blow 100 miles. Oh, hey, oh, my, you can hear the whistle blow 100 miles. Oh, hey, oh, my, you can hear the whistle